The sun dipped low over the sprawling Texas horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, but I barely noticed. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my old pickup truck so tight my knuckles turned white. I'd just come back from a long day checking fences on my ranch, the same ranch my grandfather had poured his sweat and blood into building from nothing. As I crested the hill toward home, something caught my eye, a jagged scar ripping through my pasture, fresh dirt overturned like a wound in the earth. Heavy machinery sat idle, and in the distance, a crew of workers in hard hats laughed over their thermoses. But what really stopped my heart was the sign hammered into the ground, property of Willow Creek HOA, pipeline construction in progress. They had trespassed, bulldozed my land, and now they were stealing it right under my nose. Little did those entitled busybodies know, I wasn't just some dusty rancher they'd push around. I owned the water company that kept their manicured lawns green and their fountains bubbling. And payback, it was going to flow like a drought-stricken river suddenly unleashed. My name is Jack Harlan, and that ranch has been in my family for 3 generations. Grandpa Harlan bought the land back in the 50s with nothing but a GI Bill check and a dream of wide open spaces. He raised cattle, fought off droughts, and built a life that my dad carried on until cancer took him too soon. When I inherited it 5 years ago, I swore I'd protect it, no matter what. I'd modernized a bit, added solar panels to the barns and even started a small organic beef operation to keep things afloat. But the real money, that came from Harlan Water Solutions, the company I'd quietly built on the side. We supplied fresh groundwater to half the county, including the fancy new subdivision called Willow Creek that had sprouted up like weeds on the edge of my property line. Willow Creek was the epitome of suburban hell, cookie-cutter McMansions with pristine white fences, community pools, and an HOA board that ruled with an iron fist. I'd heard the stories from neighbors, fines for grass that's a shade too brown, mandatory holiday decorations, and endless meetings where Karens in yoga pants debated mailbox colors. But I'd kept my distance. Until now. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. About 6 months back, I'd gotten a letter from the HOA president, a woman named Marjorie Klein. Everyone called her Marge, but not to her face. She was the queen bee, a retired real estate agent with a perm that looked like it could deflect bullets and a voice that could curdle milk. The letter politely requested an easement through a small, unused portion of my ranch for a pipeline to connect their new irrigation system. They offered a pittance, $5,000 for what amounted to a permanent scar on my land. I laughed it off and sent back a firm no. My ranch wasn't for sale, and certainly not for their convenience. But Marge didn't take no for an answer. The calls started next, first polite, then insistent. "Mr. Harlan, think of the community," she'd say, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "Our residents deserve reliable water for their gardens and pools." It's progress. I hung up more than once. Then the pressure ramped up. County officials I'd known for years suddenly started dropping by, hinting at eminent domain possibilities if I didn't play ball. I smelled a rat. Marge had friends in high places, or at least in the local zoning board. I should have seen it coming, but life on the ranch kept me busy. Calving season hit hard that spring, and between pulling all-nighters with sick heifers and negotiating feed prices, the WA slipped my mind. Until that fateful evening when I saw the pipeline trench. Rage boiled up in me like a summer storm. I slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the truck, and marched over to the crew. "What the hell is this?" I bellowed, pointing at the gash in my earth. The foreman, a burly guy with a clipboard, looked up surprised. "WA project, sir. Got all the permits right here." He waved a stack of papers. "Permits? This is my land. You can't just." "Sorry, buddy. Orders from above. Talk to the WA board." I stormed home, my mind racing. That night, I pored over maps and deeds in my cluttered office, the one with Grandpa's old rifle mounted on the wall. Sure enough, the pipeline cut straight through a corner of my property, a vital grazing area where my best herd rotated. They'd forged ahead without my consent, probably banking on bullying me into submission after the fact. The next morning, I drove to the Willow Creek Community Center, a gleaming building with fake stone facade and a sign boasting, "Harmony through rules." The WA meeting was in full swing, a room full of homeowners nodding along as Marge held court at the podium. She was mid-rant about someone's unapproved bird feeder when I burst in. "This meeting is for residents only," she snapped, her eyes narrowing behind her cat-eye glasses. "I'm a neighbor, and you've got a pipeline running through my ranch without permission. That's trespassing." Theft, hell, it's war. The room erupted in murmurs. A few people looked uncomfortable, but most just stared like I was the intruder. Marge smiled that predatory smile. Mr. Harlan, we've acquired the necessary easements through the county. It's all legal. If you have an issue, take it up with your lawyer. Legal? You mean you bribed some officials to condemn my land? Watch your accusations, she hissed, banging her gavel. Security, escort this man out. 2 Rent-A cops grabbed my arms, but I shook them off. This isn't over, Marge. You'll regret this. As I left, I heard her laughing with her cronies. Poor rancher thinks he can fight progress. Bless his heart. That, bless his heart, lit a fire in me. Back home, I called my lawyer, Tom, a sharp city boy who'd handled my water company deals. Jack, they've pulled some strings, but it's shaky. We can sue for injunction, but it'll take time and money. Time I didn't have. The pipeline was nearly done. That's when the idea hit me. Harlan Water Solutions. I'd started it 10 years ago after drilling a massive aquifer on the ranch. It was a gold mine, clean, abundant water pumped to nearby developments. Willow Creek was our biggest client, locked into a 5-year contract. But here's the kicker. As owner, I had discretion over maintenance shutdowns and rate adjustments for environmental concerns. I spent the next week gathering intel. Posing as a potential buyer, I toured Willow Creek. The place was a powder keg of entitlement. Kids splashing in the Olympic-sized pool, retirees golfing on their 9-hole course, housewives tending rose gardens that guzzled water like alcoholics at an open bar. All courtesy of my pumps. Emotional. Oh, it got personal. One evening, as I watched the sunset from my porch, memories flooded back. Dad teaching me to ride horses in that very pasture now scarred by the pipeline. Mom's grave on the hill overlooking it all. She'd died young, but her spirit was in every blade of grass. They'd desecrated my family's legacy. Tears stung my eyes, but they turned to resolve. Marge and her WA weren't just taking land, they were erasing history. Suspense built as I planned. I confided in my ranch hand, Miguel, a loyal guy who'd been with me through thick and thin. Boss, you sure about this? It's risky. It's justice, I replied. First strike. Routine maintenance, notice sent to Willow Creek. Water pressure would drop for 48 hours. Harmless, right, but I timed it for their annual summer barbecue, a big shindig with fireworks and catered ribs. The day arrived hot and merciless. I imagined the scene. Sprinklers sputtering, pools turning murky, toilets flushing weakly. By evening, my phone lit up with complaints, but they went to voicemail. Marge left a screeching message, Mr. Harlan, this is unacceptable. Fix it now or we'll sue. I smiled. Phase 2. The next WA meeting, I showed up uninvited again, but this time with Tom and a stack of documents. The room was tense. Residents fanned themselves, grumbling about the water crisis. Marge pounded her gavel. You again. This is harassment. No, Marge, this is reality. I held up the contract. See, Harlan Water supplies your community. And I own Harlan Water. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marge's face drained of color. You're lying. Tom stepped forward. It's true. And due to recent environmental disturbances, like, say, an unauthorized pipeline disrupting the aquifer, we're invoking Clause 7, indefinite suspension of service until resolved. Chaos erupted. You can't do that. A man shouted. We have rights. You mean like the rights you ignored on my land? I shot back. Marge recovered, her voice venomous. We'll switch providers. There are others. Good luck, I said. The nearest alternative is 50 miles away, and their rates are double. Plus, infrastructure costs millions. Residents turned on Marge. You said the easement was handled. My lawn is dying. Fix this, Marjorie. She glared at me, pure hatred. This is extortion. No, I said calmly, though my heart pounded. This is revenge. The drama escalated. Over the next days, Willow Creek withered. Lawns yellowed, flowers wilted, the pool closed for health reasons. Social media blew up, #HOA hell trending locally, with posts blasting Marge as the water witch. One Karen, a bleach blonde named Susan, cornered me at the local diner. How dare you? My hydrangeas are dead. Tell that to my ruined pasture, I replied. But it wasn't all triumph. Emotionally, it tore at me. Late nights, I'd sit by Mom's grave, whispering apologies. Did I go too far? The ranch felt lonelier, the weight of family legacy heavier. Miguel worried. Boss, they're desperate. Watch your back. He was right. Suspense peaked when I found my fence cut one night, cattle wandering. Then my truck's tires slashed. Anonymous threats in the mail. Marge's doing. I installed cameras, hired security. The climax came at an emergency town hall. The room packed with angry residents, county officials sweating under the lights. Marge took the stage, defiant. This man is a tyrant. He's holding our water hostage. I stood up. No, Marge, you started this war. You bulldozed my land, ignored my no, and thought you could buy or bully your way. But this ranch is my blood. My grandfather fought for it, my father died on it, and I'll be damned if I let entitled suburbanites destroy it. The room fell silent. Then a resident spoke. Marjorie, you lied to us. The easement wasn't legal. Murmurs grew to demands. Resign. Fix the pipeline. Marge's empire crumbled. She resigned in tears, her perm wilting under the pressure. The WA board agreed to remove the pipeline, restore my land, and pay damages, $500,000, enough to expand the ranch. Water flowed again, but on my terms, a new contract with strict environmental clauses. Willow Creek learned humility. As I stood on my porch, watching the healed pasture under a starlit sky, peace settled. Revenge wasn't sweet, it was necessary. For family, for legacy, for justice.